Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name's Derek Carner. I'm a project manager at the Elizabeth Foundation for the Arts Studio Program. And today we are talking with Judy Giera, who is also works at the Elizabeth Foundation for the Arts in the project space. And about a year ago in October, we partnered with the Potato Farm Project to provide a sort of retreat residency for our artist members. And we're really enjoying that. We've sent 7 artists there already. Yes. And so Judy's just going to talk about her work for a bit, what she's been up to, what her history is, and then we'll have a little time for Q&A. Feel free to chat, use the chat to introduce yourself, make comments, and ask any questions. And without further ado, Judy.
Thank you, Derek. It's a lovely introduction. Hi, everyone from everywhere. I see you all. Hello, welcome. I'm so excited to be here with you. I just want to start with a few thank yous. I just want to thank Potato Farm Project, Reuven Badehi, for creating the space and giving me this opportunity. It's such a lovely time away from the city. I wanted to thank the EFA studio staff, particularly Derek, but also, of course, Bill and Natalia for this program and our work together as colleagues at EFA. As well as I'd like to thank my colleague Dylan from the project space for allowing, helping me facilitate this time around my work at Project Space to make this residency happen. So thank you so much. And thank you everyone again for being here. Let me just get my screen share going. I'm the worst millennial. I don't know how to use technology. I apologize. There we go. All right, awesome. So, as I said, my name's Judy. My pronouns are she and her. And I guess I just wanted to start with a little bit of history of my work and sort of how I came to my work and my process, as well as the recent body of work I've been making here at the Potato Farm Project while I've been out here. So I'm excited to share all of that with you. So I guess if I would start by saying how I came to my process as an artist. I was unfortunately a theater kid. I apologize to everyone for my pageantry, but it is what it is when you're raised in such a dramatic art, literally. And so I, of course, bring that to my visual art practice, but also I think theater really gave me this sense of multidisciplinary practices in that you kind of have to do everything in theater. All of the arts are, of course, so underfunded in schools, but in theater programs particularly, it's you got to learn how to sew costumes. You have to learn how to hang lights, paint sets. So you just sort of end up with this very multidisciplinary approach to the work in your training. And I think that that's what I bring. And I can't help but describe myself as multidisciplinary in that way. And then the other sort of through line through all of this work is that I can't just be a cisgender white straight man and just be an artist. I am a trans artist. So that, of course, because my work is very personal to me, it comes through in all the work. That is just the visibility of being trans. It's an instantly visible thing, no matter where or when in time or space, at least as we know it. And I'm always visible, and so that's very much a through line in how I approach both painting and performance and video. So I guess for my official artist statement here, this is what goes on the grant apps. I guess I'll just read this for a second. So I'm a multidisciplinary artist whose work is grounded in video performance and a loose definition of painting. My work utilizes textural assemblage-based abstract painting to cement a material vocabulary also used in video works and performances, where I often take on characters which serve as an ultimate allegory for my transgender body. With a colorful and quotidian materiality symbiotically across painting and video, I create a bright and haptic body of work expressing the highs and lows, powers, and ejaculatory revelry of transition, becoming, pleasure, mental health, and gender euphoria. Okay, so let's not let's not read and talk like that anymore. That's the grand application version. So basically what I do is I make abstract paintings that are very textural, they're very assemblage. I bring a lot of everyday materials in. My favorite place to shop for art materials is the hardware store and the dollar store, because I just believe that those sort of everyday items need to be entering a material into a material vocabulary, specifically in my work. And so those paintings set the tones for videos and performances. So I will cross-pollinate, I will pull materials used in the paintings to create sets and costumes for the performances. I'll perform in front of paintings. I'll do videos with paintings in them as sets and props, as well as pieces from like the wigs. There are wigs I use, and hairs from the wigs are in paintings I'm working on now. So it becomes this conversation across, dare I say, in the expanded field, as it were, that I really look at painting as like painting and, like it's never just one thing. So I'm thinking a lot through the lens right now of painting and performance, but more specifically video. Anyway, that's enough of that theory crap. Let's like actually look at work. Okay. So this work is one of my favorite paintings. This is a 2019 abstraction called Just a T-Girl from Brooklyn. This was part of a series of large-scale abstractions I was doing at the time that were directly related to my transition. I was between two sort of major to me medical moments in transition. And so these were very much a sense of, there was a sense of becoming in these, but also my work before this past year has been extremely directly diaristic. And I'll talk about why that changed in a bit, but just keep that in mind as kind of we go through this first few works. So this piece specifically is, it's about 4 feet by 4 feet. And all of the undergarments you see in this painting are actually the undergarments I wore while I was making the painting. So every day I would leave my studio. Before I'd leave, I'd just take my panties off and like throw them onto the floor like it was my bedroom. And then the next day I would come and work them into the painting. And that became sort of how I was thinking about performance and painting, and how they could actually, the painting would become a sort of ephemera of the performance, a performance that, I mean, you could say no one sees unless you're looking at my panties, which I don't know if you are, lucky you, but you know, in general, it's not visible, but at the same time, the sort of the visibility of the trans woman, like I'm always very visible, like in the clothing and attire I choose. And so that, it is visible. So that's the thing about it. But it's this ephemera of this daily performance. You know, I was thinking at the time a lot about how paintings could actually perform themselves, like how the objects themselves were performing and what they were doing. You know, I definitely think about that a lot in my work, and how it will make people relate physically to the painting, whether it draws them close or kind of makes them have to stand back, and how that is related to how they intake the painting, because there's that like mind-body learning connection. So this was sort of another through line in that, which is why it was, you know, a good size at 4 feet by 4 feet. This painting was in a show at the Hudson River Museum last year, a survey of women artists over 150 years. So I was really, really honored to be part of that. And it's the only painting, I will never sell it. So you can throw all the money in the world at me and I will not sell it to you. I love this painting so much. She's beautiful. So, and then these next two works here are collages from around the same time. As I said, the sort of direct diaristic impulse that was in these works. These were a series of collages that I was making between these two sort of medical moments in my transition. And it became a weekly practice. I would make 4 to 6 of them a week. There are 72 in the series as a whole. They're all on 11 by 14 canvas board, and they're actually sewn into, I sort of like punch these holes through to sort of pre-drill and sew through this kind of hard canvas board. And they're like these little moments in time from that that time of becoming between these two medical moments. And you know, there is everyday ephemera. This was a copy of like a facial feminization chart, and this is like a payment from one of the bills I had paid for one of the doctor visits, and yeah, and so I was also watching a lot of what one of my procedures would look like online, just like watching videos of it. So I was very much thinking about body and body abstracted, the body sort of loosened up, drawing as a expanded practice, again, coming back to that sort of line of inquiry. But at the same time, they perform as these succinct moments. You know, they were just named with the date and the time, very, you know, on Kawara style, and it was amazing to see them all together. And unfortunately, the series has been tainted. A few have been sold off and gone away and been given as gifts and such and so forth. So it is no longer a complete. I like that only I know the complete reference. So it's kind of, it's for me, suckers. Isn't all of our art though, like it's for ourselves a little bit? I think it should be. So again, this is another abstraction from that series of the first painting I showed you. This is called Feminine Attributes. So I was starting to think of, again, how painting and performance could hang out together. And I was literally thinking of paintings as sets. So this was a set that I actually performed on. I did a ritual of care in that I took all of these hair pieces, and you can see the 5 hair pieces on there, as well as the wig in the bottom portion. And during the performance, I went through the process of caring for them and brushing them and cleaning them and just going through this process and really affirming like the act of care as like a very just like beautiful thing, especially within like a feminine body. And I didn't speak through the entire thing. The only sounds were the sounds like of these pieces on the canvas, of the brush coming down the side of the canvas as it went through the hair pieces. And it just made this beautiful, slightly static, slightly white noise effect that I thought was just really nice. And again, to see how performance and painting can continue to serve each other in that way. This is a similar performance I did at the Bronx Art Space in 2019 as well. It was called A Ritual for Trans Affirmation, or rather Yelling at Cis People #3. This is the third in a series. So these, again, I didn't really have a character in these. I was myself just like lecturing at people. This was about obviously bathroom usage. There's a toilet installed in the bottom sort of left-ish corner. It wasn't functional. I didn't install a functional toilet in the gallery. I'm not that mean to galleries to be like, you're gonna watch people pee. That would be rude. But it definitely was interacted with in the piece. And this piece sort of came directly out of an experience I had in my grad program where I was kicked out of a women's room, which sucks and is just like it's more embarrassing than anything. But I actually went back and I took photos of that bathroom where that happened and the corresponding men's room. And that's what's actually the backgrounds of the paintings in the back. And then I did the performance in front of that sort of talked about bathroom access and bathroom rights and like referenced the story and talked about, you know, what cis people need to do in order to create safe spaces for trans people. And the end was actually me leading anyone who was identified as cisgender in the audience to just like through this pledge to like do better for trans people. So it was really just direct, didactic, and you know, that's the way the work was really looking at the time. This is a performance I did as well in 2019 at the School of the Visual Arts in their summer residency program in painting. Again, hearkening back to my sort of thought of painting and, you know, it was a painting program and I was looking around and everyone else was really just painting. And I was like, but why don't, I want to do video or I want to do a performance or I want to, so for the Open Studios event at the end, I staged my studio as an installation and did a 3-hour durational performance. I literally spoke to no one at those Open Studios. Maybe that's bad artist marketing, I don't care. It was a fun performance. So the performance I did in here was, this was called Give Us This Day Our Daily Armor. And it was done so that I was facing this mirror and going through my sort of daily routines of affirmation. So down to like shaving my legs, shaving my armpits, doing my nails, doing my hair, skincare, shaving, you know, just everything that I do to sort of put on this high femme armor. Not always daily, because I'm kind of lazy with makeup, let's be honest with ourselves. But you know, it definitely felt like it was a transformation. And so the only way that the visitors or the audience could interact with me is they could sit behind me and meet my eyes in the mirror. And they were welcome to put on headphones that I also had on that were playing like my daily pump up inspiration, like playlist I play when I'm like, oh God, I have to leave the house. And so it was a nice shared moment of just, it was like a performance for everyone, but a performance, it was very one-on-one. You know, the artist is present, like, come on, Marina. But, you know, that sort of vibe. And it was really fun, and it was beautiful. And even the paintings I was making at the time, you might notice, are more figurative. I went back and forth with figure before I was like, no, I'm an abstract girl. But even these paintings couldn't just be figurative paintings in that they are all made of makeup. I transformed cosmetics into an acrylic paint using the pigments, like eyeshadow, blush, liquid foundation. And so those became the paints for these very loose and kind of gauzy figurative works. And then she never painted figuratively again. But and then this sort of final thing in this sort of first chunk of work, this sort of diaristic quality, were these video experiments I was doing with live painting in 2019 and 2020. Unfortunately, the pandemic kind of this project due to just access needs with technology, and it was fun to start in that I was now beginning to integrate painting into video. I unfortunately didn't bring this drive down with me, but this is a still from the video. So all the space that you're seeing painted black, all of that painting was originally painted green. So I effectively was live painting over a green screen. And the footage on the green screen that you can see the sort of little bit of in the bottom right corner is actually footage that a dear friend of mine took the day after I had my facial feminization surgery. So I look busted, not good. And it was me sort of covering that as I was healing and talking about the processes of becoming and what that means. And becoming is the one thing that I think I've really taken from this period of work in my life, was that, you know, the work is always about being on a precipice and becoming, and the not quite there yet, but the potential. Anyway, and then I don't know if you heard, but a global pandemic occurred across the lands. And so a lot of things stopped for a lot of people, and I stopped really making art for about 8 months, and my own, you know, mental health went some not nice places, and you know, I took time away, and then I got a fresh set of eyes, and that's the positive that came out of that, because I started to make a different sort of work. So since I really wasn't making work, but I wanted, you know, was sort of coaxing myself to come back to it after some time away, I started thinking about a few just sort of easy prompts, you know, easy ways in to give myself for creating this work. And so I went back to thinking about a few things. And the first thing that I majorly considered is that, like, I'm so visible as a trans woman. Like, I can't, it's to an uncomfortable point sometimes. And so why am I creating this work that's adding to my extreme sort of visibility in such a laid bare way? Like, I felt depleted by the practice. And so I was like, all right, first of all, we're gonna go to abstract paintings, because that's where I can keep secrets, where I can sort of hide and live in this place of becoming without having to be sort of direct. And I'll show more of that in a second. But also performance, okay, what's an easy way into performance? So a friend of mine, Katja Kokowska, who's an amazing artist and friend, invited me to do, she was curating a night of performance, and it was, this was in the late summer last year, was, you know, socially distanced. And of course, like I had to be in a mask. So the sort of way I gave myself in is I thought like, okay, what did 12-year-old Judy like? Because, you know, inner child, thinking back, like we are still ourselves and we are the same selves we were when we were 12. And I thought to myself, okay, well, like Judy really liked show tunes and aliens, specifically like the Alien movies. And so for this performance, I created a show tune, not lip syncing because it's a full mask, but performing alien drag queen who ate men. So that's, you know, what this performance was. It was 20 minutes with a live video, projected live video and sort of soundscape to go with it. And I just have a little short clip from this because my documentation isn't the best, but I'll share that now. Sound coming through? Was sound coming through on that? Yeah, okay, great. Sorry. Oh my God, I ruined it. All right, I'll kind of... So the sort of interesting thing, that was the first study with this what I would come to know as my sort of alien drag queen performance persona. It's funny because performance, you know, you can't really do a study of it. It's sort of, you have to just trial and error it. And so I definitely took these and I thought, okay, how can I connect this sort of character performance to a video where I have a sort of more control over how I'm being seen, but then also what would paintings look like with this in this sort of world? And so I set out to create what is my Gog Dog Suite. So this is a series of works that were created in 2020 to 2021. So this was my most recent body of work before coming to the Potato Farm project. And this was a series of small paintings. There's 10 in the series, and there's one large painting as well. And the paintings set the tone or kind of create the world for the video, and the video is actually filmed in front of one of the paintings, and then it's built into the work. Literally, there's the painting extends. There's a large painting that extends onto the floor into a floor sculpture, and the video is embedded. I'll share some images of that, but I wanted to start with some of the smaller works. So I really just adore these as paintings. They're fun abstractions. So the color palette I was kind of going for here is a very 2005, 2006, like Juicy Couture, like Paris Hilton in Juicy Couture type, like that's literally the pink crushed velvet and there's the yellow crushed velvet. And it's just various kind of like early 2000s coming off of that late 90s, like Nickelodeon vibe, which often is sort of my color palette all the time. And so I guess the important thing to know about this suite as we go forward and is that, again, it's called the Gog Dog Suite. Now, Gog Dog is an ugly word and no one should say it, but it's just like, it sounds weird to say. It's the worst slang I've ever heard for orgasm. Like, oh, like if someone's like, oh, did you Gog Dog? Like, no, don't say that to me. It's just a not nice word. I just don't like it. And so of course I was like, oh, well, I'll name like 12 works after it. Sounds good, Judy. That's a smart idea. So everyone else has to say it. And I'm just like, oh, oh. So these are all just numbered 1 through 10. They're called Extraterrestrigurl Gog Dog. So obviously like alien orgasm is I guess what that translates to. And where that comes from, I'm not just crude for the sake of being crude. Let's get that straight. This comes from the fact that spending the time alone in the pandemic I was trying to reframe a lot of the like not nice things that I went through, and trying to find, again, like a positives out of it. And one of the things for me that really stuck out was that like I spent a lot of time alone and with my body, and I found a new sort of sense of comfort in it, in my body, that is, and was able to find pleasure in myself and find beauty in myself in a way that I hadn't before in the early parts of the pandemic. And that's joyful, and that's what these paintings represent. But again, moving away from the sort of direct diaristic, you just look at it, it's an abstract painting. It's a cute little abstract painting, And so I like that I can keep those secrets in abstraction, that they can sort of blur and that be that idea becoming, or the potential of that idea, but still allude to it, but not feel like it's just like my diary and like moments from my life directly just replayed for me over and over and over in front of everyone. That just didn't feel necessary. And I often refer to my work as unnecessary because, show tunes singing Alien and everyday material paintings, like, I guess they're unnecessary, isn't? I guess everything beyond like food and survival is unnecessary, but I don't know, there's something about the extra, the pageant that I care for. And I think it comes across nicely in these abstractions. So these utilized fashion fabrics. My studio is lucky enough to be at EFA, and it is of course in the garment district. So I have my one fabric store, eBad Fabrics, on 8th Avenue. Love it. Been going there for almost 5 years. And I always go get just, 5 or 6 fabrics when I'm starting a sort of series of works. And so these are, in the background, it's a stretched lame with a stretched pink cotton canvas, excuse me. And so those are sewn together and then stretched as the base for the canvas, and then everything else is put in. And these are quite sculptural. It's kind of hard to tell, but like this whole area on the sort of upper left-hand corner of the painting is this sort of plasticky vinyl-y substance. At the time I was pouring to make these sort of sculptural pieces out of actually just mixtures of glue and matte medium to sort of create these vinyl-y pieces that then could be poured onto and adhered in. And also was including like an old series of paintings I had made that I ripped up, but I liked the colors. So there's, again, like a sort of everyday quotidian impulse in the work, in that I literally just grab whatever is close to me, and then I go to the hardware store and I grab things that please my eye, and then I pick up a few fabrics and then I make it work. I don't know, it's very intuitive, but there's something about the problem solving aspect of abstraction that also does it to me. I had a professor in grad school that said like artists just like give themselves problems that they then have to solve. And so I love thinking of these as like these strange Rubik's cubes that then get solved. This is the second one in the series. Again, it's that stretched lame and the felt as well. These are really just some interesting works, and they're small. Like this is one of the larger ones. This is 8 inches by 20 inches. This is, I think, the 4th in the series. And those pores, again, I use a generous materiality. I've kind of come to become a weird mad scientist woman chemist in my studio, in that I'm trying to find the right combinations to create these sort of frankly sploogey looking marks on the paintings, and the green specifically in this work. And so I was constantly, and am constantly for current projects, perfecting sort of the mixes of the different materials so that they're both archival to a point, and that they look cool. So it's and are stable to sort of live in these paintings. And so it's definitely a fun process to continue to break down sort of the materials. I'm just a weird material person. I always have been, like my entire life. I was like a little kid who glued like random things together just because I thought it would look cool. Like I just like, yeah, let's glue this like penny on this piece of wood. That's gonna look cool. Like, I don't know. It's just, it makes sense in the work. This is all of them together. This is the 10 small works together in a series. So this is Extraterrestrigurl Dog 1 through 10, all in a complete series. So you can see the sort of color thematics, the pink, the yellow, and that green alien fluid color coming out, as well as sewing and the pouring and the mark making with the thread. So I do also sew a fair amount into work, and the sewing is sort of a dual purpose for me in that it really both is a mark. I think of it as drawing, but then it's also piercing the substrate in a lot of ways that I think is really nice, and it just, you know, harkens back to the medical transition. Like I frankly, like I give myself my estrogen shot every 2 weeks. It's piercing the skin. I'm thinking a lot about the puncturing act of that as care, but I don't know. It's just it's a vague tide that I find very interesting. So, and then it ends in, of course, this large work, the Big Gog, Big Gog. And it's a larger wall piece with a floor piece that then embeds a video that is also filmed in front of the painting, features these costumes. This is one of the headpieces that matches the painting, and one of the tops that I created for this that also matches the fabrics in the painting. And so I'm going to share a little bit of the video now, and then we'll jump on to new work here at Potato Farm Project. So this is from the largest work in that series, again, the Big Gog. And this was just on view at Sponso Gallery on the Lower East Side for their inaugural group show. So that was really awesome. And so here's a few moments of this video performance. Just to keep in touch. One swoops out of the I'm south of the street. Too busy to know that what to want for better let's all play the vaginal farts are wonderful things. Oh, hi, hey, hi, yes, hello. Oh, you smell good. Ooh, are you single? So here's to the doors of the girl. Everybody tries. Look into their eyes and you'll see what they know. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. That rectum has feces in there. That rectum has feces in there. That rectum has feces in there. They look like women from Mars. Women from Mars. Women from Mars. Looking out on the morning rain. I used to feel uninspired. And when I knew I'd have to face another day, Lord, made me feel so tired. Before the day I met you, life was so unkind. But your love was the key to my peace of mind.
For many females, an orgasm is an important part of lovemaking and masturbation.
It made me feel so good inside. That love's loving me. Close to you, make me feel so alive. Right, so yeah, that was, oh, no. Sorry, again, I told you I'm the worst millennial. So on to where the work has come now that I've had time and space here at the residency to sort of digest what the heck is happening with this performance creature and how that continues its conversation with painting, and you know, how they can sort of symbiotically support each other. And so continuing that work, the alien has gotten a few more outfits in her wardrobe. So these are a duo sort of characters that are sort of like the old starlet and the young starlet. The older has the sort of silver look, and the younger has the sort of green, and you know, it's whereas I think the xenomorph, the first alien mask, is sort of more the defense against attacks. Men, these are more the sort of the ego and the self, the aging self. After all, it's happening to us all, I guess. So they are sort of thinking through that. And I guess I will share a short tidbit of what I'm working on video-wise. It's under a minute because I'm not. It's still in its early phases. So this is just a little of what the video experiments out here are looking like.
We all have our preferences. Some people like carrots and some people hate broccoli.
Yes, so that is in its early incantations, but iterations of incantations. That, well, all work is kind of a spell in a way. So you might have noticed the paintings are appearing in the backgrounds. A lot of the fabrics and colors are carried through. I use a lot of green screen to pipe in the paintings and other textures I want to focus on. So these are 3 of the works hanging in the lovely studio here, and these were the sort of first 3 in the series, just to kind of give you a closer look at each. So this is just a short, this is from my Instagram, a short video. So these are actually treated with a cabinet lacquer, so a really hardware story lacquer, and they have this very glitzy sheen to them. You can tell from this video. You can see the light sort of reflecting off it. Show that one more time. So again, I'm really experimenting with it. That's a new material for me. I really wanted this sort of plastic, but I didn't want to work with like a resin because that just wasn't appealing to me. And so I'm using this cabinet lacquer to sort of seal these paintings. And I like that. There could be an element of yellowing. There could be a little bit of object decay, but I think that is part of why I love my work. I mean, I am also experimenting with ways to make these last longer and to sort of preserve the works in and of themselves. And so these lacquers are good ways to do that, as they're probably horrible for the environment, but they are great for preserving, I guess. Although I have been trying to look at the more green options for materials as I'm thinking forward, and that's definitely considerations when I'm thinking about materials. So I often go for things that are will eventually biodegrade or are not harmful in their processes they're made. So that is a consideration, of course. Oh my God, why again? So this is one of the works up close. This painting is called Feeling Femme and Yet the Lurker Lurks. Just a strange little kooky title there. And it's, again, that same fabric that you saw, and it's the kind of cloak I'm wearing in the video. And so it's pulled down through the painting, and then these are poured into. And of course, you could see from the video I just showed that they are these come up about 2.5, 3 inches off the canvas. Each of these are all, I pour a lot into the work, as well as use sort of non-traditional materials. This is sort of a dried out wood glue that creates this sort of amber color. And this white is actually a mix of like adhesive, so it kind of breaks apart in a really beautiful way up close. This one as well is one from those three. Again, you're seeing like this yellowy color in the center is the sort of calcified wood glue hair from the wigs in the bottom left. Even a part of this blue in the sort of right bottom hand corner under the lips. Is that blue is one of the inflatable aliens sacrificed that you see behind me and in the videos. So again, it's just thinking really materially in a cross-pollination sort of way through both the paintings and the performances as they happen. Lips are a pretty big motif in mine that comes from honestly my love of drag. I do love drag. A lot of times it's problematic, and it's really hard for me as a trans girl because it's often very binary, and like the idea of like fishiness or looking high femme is like weirdly related to passing. And so it's complicated, which is why my version of drag is an alien drag queen who eats men. That's just a much better option for Judy. And but so the lips, the idea of lip syncing and performing these performances of others, but making them your own, that goes back to like 16-year-old Judy sneaking into gay bars. That's like the vibe of that. And so I hold it into place in my hearts, and I like that the masks and the alien looks always reveal the lips and keep that going. So often you'll see that motif. This is another painting that is completed. It's just waiting to get its lacquer coating. And the orange you're seeing there is a new material I'm experimenting with out here, and it's actually insulation foam. So it's the foam that they spray basically when wiring runs through studs in your house. They'll spray this insulation foam. It appears in other places and comes in some fun colors, like you can see. And it's also not flammable. So my painting cannot be burnt, at least that part of it. So that's cool. And I treat it like a paint because it has quite, the way it comes out of the, it's in a can, and the way you have to work with it. I'm treating it like a very sort of broad paint. It's paint with an extremely heavy body aesthetic with a light actual weight. That's a close-up, so you can kind of see the texture, which includes several pores. Again, this sort of darker yellow in the sort of upper left-hand corner is wood glue that has been heated to a certain temperature with a hair dryer so that it sort of dries with its pigment still intact. And again, like fabric, the bottom left corner is fabrics that are appearing in costumes in the video. Again, the lip motif comes through. These are small plaster of Paris lips. Yeah, I just really like the detail on this one. Again, I'm experimenting with this new sort of material as well here, and can kind of see it's a really fun material to look at, and that's been part of the process here. And then I wanted to end my official Judy Giera lecture with one final performance, a little 11 o'clock number for you kittens for hanging out with me here. I'll answer a few questions after, and then we'll close it too. But I just wanted to share one performance with you. So you might have noticed in all of my videos, everything's kind of collage, chopped up. I never show you full arcs of songs. Fun fact though, I record the full song. All of those songs, I did the full song of, including my favorite things where I played both sides, which was a lot of fun to do. And this is a song that is going to appear in that video. It hasn't been chopped up yet, and it's in its full iteration. And I just think it's my gift from me to you. So also this is for 18-year-old musical theater Judy. So there we go. Thank you, everyone. So I don't know if there are any questions. Yeah, just unmute yourselves and we'll go to town.
I have a question.
Hi, Michelle.
Hey, Judy. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Go for it.
So I just actually watched Cabaret on your recommendation. And so that was enjoyable to see both iterations of that song. But I was curious if you had any other kind of recommendations of films that have kind of a tangential trans presence or feel very influential to the trans experience, even maybe not directly, but
yeah, I mean, I look at a lot of these like musical theater characters, these women who were just always put in these like just the worst positions, and I just like the disposability of it, which of course speaks to misogyny in general, but then how that's amplified to then view it as a trans narrative and to imagine that character is trans. So I think any honestly, most musicals from the 60s and 70s. Right now, I'm also thinking of Valley of the Dolls. I just feel like that would be a fierce as trans women just in that role, those roles would actually be amazing. But we'll watch that one back. Well,
Hell
yeah.
yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Anyone else?
I actually had a question for you, Judy. It's so good to see you.
So good to see you.
I really am fascinated that you would use for your titling a word that you are uncomfortable hearing. And it makes me think about how I think eventually you'll feel fine about hearing this word, and wondering if the repetition, how that will change, especially with you working with it. But I actually was just like, is this some type of like exposure therapy? Are you and also, does that resonate with you at all in terms of how of other aspects of your practice?
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah, it's funny with that word. It starts as like a bad joke and then it becomes like a weird metaphor. So I'm an impish little creature and I like to just do silly things. And so for me to just see a word that I'm like, I do not like that word. And I'm like, well, of course I'm going to name it that word, because I'm just like a little a-hole who just like sometimes is like, oh, my parents and uncle are laughing. Yes. But it definitely, it starts there, and that's where it started. But then it starts to get to the point where it's like, I think about words like tranny and shemale and all of these other things, and like I get like all these words that get levied at me on a daily basis. And so there's a desensitization, as you alluded to, in like that process for me. And I think by choosing to do it sort of on my own terms with the word gog dog, it actually becomes a strange empowerment. Like, I'm repeating a word I don't like so much until I actually like it. Like, I have to sort of say it. And so it's in a way, it's again, I have a dark sense of humor. I feel like I can make humor out of anything. And so I think that that's where that kind of came from. And then, like I said, it started as like a haha, and then became like a, oh man, that's deep.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I have a question.
Hi, Barry.
Hi,
How are you?
good. How are you? So
Good,
beautiful to see your work, and the surfaces are just absolutely intoxicating.
Thank you.
I have a question about, we spoke recently about, you know, old New York and kind of venues for all kinds of performance and things like the Pyramid Club specifically is my own history. I'm wondering what you think about in terms of gallery spaces as being the only spaces for this great performance work that you're doing. Do you see them maybe opening up more for public, so that a larger public could come, or just sort of thinking about, to me it seems a little sad that the gallery space is now where all this wonderful work is only, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't have any comment about that. That was kind of garbled, but whatever. I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, totally, Barry. Yeah, no, I was actually thinking back on that conversation after we had it about the sort of the high and low art of Pyramid Club, and how just everything, there could be bad art. And I think that that's so beautiful. And I think we're in a really interesting time right now, because we are coming out of, hopefully coming on the upswing of this pandemic, and everything's changed. Like, I think the playing field's leveled a little bit. I think there's a lot of new galleries. There's a lot of new potential with virtual sort of interaction. And I really think there's a lot of like the comeback of DIY spaces might start to happen, as, especially as prices are very, very low. So I'm hoping a lot of that sort of more fringe New York comes back with that performance element. I think we were definitely losing that over the last, even in the decade I've been here, it's, we've definitely lost that. But I also, on the flip side, I love my work in a gallery, the performance work specifically, because it's so, like, the white cube with like that in it is just so like, huh? Like, and sometimes, like, I love art people, I love you all, I love myself, but like they're different from theater people, so the expectations are just wildly different. So I've done performances where I'll finish a number and no one claps, and then I have to, hi, like, yes, it's okay to like me, please like me. But I think definitely there's something interesting there as well. So I'm sort of hopeful for what those spaces, both in galleries and in more fringe spaces, will look like in the next 2-3 years as New York kind of finds its footing.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and I think we might have time for like one more question if there's any last burning desire. Yeah, I am single, so in case you were wondering that.
I had a question.
Hey,
Hey, great to see you.
yeah, nice to see you. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. I'm noticing with one of the previous videos, well, with the more recent video, I feel like you're revealing a lot more of yourself. So in the previous video, the performances were being done with the mask, where we could really only make out, a small portion of you. But now there's kind of almost more freedom, more liberation. You're revealing more of your body, more of your face. What could you attribute that shift to?
Yeah, I think it's the different alien looks are sort of the different facets of Judy, whereas the xenomorph, the sort of just the teeth with the mouth and the full face covered, is how I feel in interactions with men. I mean, frankly, like from hookup to on the street, like any level of that, I feel like I have to be on defense. I have to be like ready to attack, a little bit scary, like whereas I feel like the sort of the glasses look with the wigs and the little antennas, that's more like my Judy like performance. Like that's like Judy at the palace, like old Judy, young Judy. And so it's a little bit more purposely performative in that way. There's a little more face. But I have one where the face is completely covered, and that character is like my pure ego. Like it's the ego-driven sort of part of me, and so there's no the articulation is done in this like I'm working on an alien language because that's the necessary. I'm doing the Lord's work here on the residency by creating my own alien language, and that's how that part communicates. So I think it's discovering the different facets of my, which I never said her official name is that bitch though, because like, oh, she walks in and you're like, that bitch though, like it's good, it's bad, you can use it multiple ways. Anyway, so yeah, I hope that kind of answers where that's going. And good to see you. And yeah, Derek, I don't have any closing.
Thank you, Judy. This was really amazing. I loved seeing all your work.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoy your last weeks there. How much longer are you in the residency?
I'm there through the 29th, so.
Great.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. If you probably all follow me, but in case you don't, that's my, oh, I just sent that directly to my friend Bruce. Sorry, Bruce. Judy Kunst is my Insta handle, or Judy Giera not so fine art .xyz is my my website, and yes, it is .xyz because I'm a weird hacker girl.